Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you here back on the channel. This is what I call a short pop-up video. I know there's been lots of concerns around the election and all the things going on since the debate. Been vacation for a while, just returned from vacation. But I had a lot of people reaching out to me, and I promised I would do a pop-up video just kind of going over some of the things that we've read on and predicted over the years and kind of put it all together in some sort of a reasonable semblance of order so we can kind of all revisit it. Um, as you know, Biden just completed a press conference this week here, July 11th, right after the NATO conference. And a lot of people had a lot of questions about that. But I thought I'd go over what I've seen over the years and what's coming up and kind of, revisit all of that. So without any further delay, let's jump in to this very quick pop-up video regarding the election 2024, 45, Biden, etc. So by the way, for the last 4 years, my team has been telling me, my angels and guides, that the nominees for the respective Republican and Democratic parties would be 45 and Biden, and that both of them would move through the complete election process, and that Biden would be the winner, declared the winner of the presidential election for 2024. So that hasn't changed. I know a lot of chaos around it, and I don't choose to read energy when I do these readings. Obviously, the longer away I am from the event, the easier it is. And I think 4 years ago we started doing some of these readings. So my team is still saying that that's going to be the outcome. That's going to be the case. Now, my team's also said that there's major forces and drivers that kind of make that the case. So I took a few notes here before the show. I just thought I'd kind of go through some of them with you here. The first is the overturning of Roe v. Wade. A big factor in women's reproductive rights. It's going to bring out a massive amount of support for Biden. And it was really a move that mobilized a lot of women in the voting process and men too, rightfully so. I mean, taking away of reproductive rights. Second thing is, I see there's going to be a massive turnout on the election. I think maybe there's 185 million people that came out to vote on the last presidential election. I see it looks like it's going to be well over, could be 220 million. So a massive amount of turnout for the next presidential election in light of and supporting Biden. The third element here is kind of the threat to immigration rights for immigrants, migrants, all the things that are being threatened to be taken away by 45. The next element to consider is kind of the maintaining of a democracy and not a full dictatorship. These are all the elements that are kind of leaning towards Democratic Party and Biden winning the presidency. Additionally, restoring balance in the Supreme Court. 45 were to get in. My guides don't see that. That would absolutely destroy and make even worse what's going on with the imbalance in the Supreme Court. Next element that kind of leads a lot of individuals towards the Democratic Party and what's going on, the release of the Epstein documents very recently here, and a lot of people that are going to be listed in those documents and threatened by what's in there. So they're, of course, they're scared. You see a lot of people coming out in the media trying to support 45 because they know that if the legal process, the DOJ becomes more balanced, they're going to be in trouble. And I think a lot of people are talking, out of fear. There's obviously they don't want Biden to get back in because of the balance they're going to achieve, and a lot of people are going to be heavily litigated here. And one of the last elements is that it's important to remember that a large amount of the media ownership you're looking at, terrestrial broadcast television, print media, online digital media, is all owned now by very far right supporters, right? So they're billionaires, corporations that are very heavily held by the far right. So keep in mind, a lot of media that's coming out is highly influenced by the far right. You're not getting an accurate picture. So a lot of these elements are very informative, and they're actually is why that Biden tends to do very, very well. So I thought it'd also be helpful. I took a few notes here to kind of summarize some of the fundamentals here to Biden winning and not being replaced on the ticket, because I see a lot of noise being drummed up in the media and by some Democrats that Biden should be replaced on the ticket. First off, and you saw this in the conference, Biden's command of kind of all U.S. and international mechanisms for peace. So he has a very good understanding of how to work with everybody to kind of maintain a level of peace and security in the world. Second thing, right now, we're on top of some very recent major developments for a ceasefire agreement and hostage release in the Middle East. The agreement really been structured in principle between Israel and Hamas. I think they're working on it right now, real time. Biden had kind of put that out a week or two ago. I'm not sure, maybe it was a week ago. And now it looks like there's being some significant progress being made. So a big factor towards the support of Biden. The third element to remember here is that he has actually the strongest foreign policy command of any U.S. president that we've seen. And very important for continuing forward here with a lot of what's going on in the world. It's also very well respected here by a lot of world leaders, communicates with a lot of world leaders on an ongoing basis. He is endorsed by 55 world leaders at the recent NATO conference. And that's a very important factor for the world even supporting Biden. And remember, all these things have influences and effects on what's going on here in the US. Kind of the next element to talk about is Biden inherited a disaster economy right out of the pandemic and a lot of things, a lot of job loss. And actually, inside of about 3 years, 3.5 years, here has really turned that around. We just saw some of the lowest levels of inflation. That's, has to do with the rate of increase in prices. Prices actually dropped on homes a percent or a percent and a half, as well as on auto purchase. But we're actually seeing some real beneficial effects on the economy right now, along with massive job creation. So I think overall, hundreds of thousands of jobs now created. I don't think for the exact number is, but I really don't hold me to that number. I'm trying to remember. It was massive job creation. I think there was even several thousand in the last couple of weeks. So it's going the right direction. The economy is going the right direction. The other element that I think people find very supportive of moving forward with Biden overall, with a massive turnout voting, are things like the Chips Act, which had to do with microprocessor technology and chips. But he's able to get $20 billion of investment out of Japan and South Korea. Very informative for manufacturing jobs here. So a real important element, creating job creation, managing our own destiny, keeping chip technology here in the U.S. Also, let's not forget the executive border order that was put in place, which is now, as a result of what we've seen here, a 50% reduction in border crossings by migrants coming over the border. And in fact, it's now at like the lowest level since even 45 left office. So kind of an important factor of kind of taking control of manufacturing, jobs, border crossing. These are all important elements that when people come out to vote, they're actually going to be kind of front of mind. You have to also remember that Biden was unanimously elected in the primaries by all the voters, right? So a lot of support across the Democratic primary from a lot of voters. Also, let's not forget right now a $230 million war chest for the campaign, and that's growing. And also another important element that comes up all the time, he really successfully got Asia and European countries to support Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. A lot of elements, a lot of forces, a lot of success here along the way. And all these things are additive. They're a cumulative effect as to why a lot of the massive turnout in voters, according to my team, are coming forward to support. In regards to health, I know always a lot of health concerns. We're all getting older. I get it. But I think we just completed like 20 events in the last week or two or something, major with thousands of people. So he's not, standing on his laurels or hiding in a back room. He's actually out there. The other thing is that I know he mentioned in the press conference, I think he had 3 neurological exams in the last year or 6 months, whatever it was. All those results are released, willing to take another neurological exam. So I think what my team's trying to do here is just trying to put a lot of the facts on the table for everybody to kind of take a look at, peruse, understand, kind of what we're dealing with here. Remember also that Project 2025 is now like fully released and is part of the Republican platform, and a very dangerous document. If you read the document, 900 pages, a lot of elements in there, really threats to democracy and rights across the board, including getting rid of was it civil service and threats to the VA and putting migrants, in prisons. It's a lot. Anyway, the release and kind of the publication now fully publicized of Project 2025 and the alignment with 45 is actually going to be a factor that moves a lot of voters towards Biden. Remember, he also got Sweden and Finland into NATO. I think, I think Sweden came in March of this year. I think Finland may have been last year. I'm just going from memory here. But anyway, that was a great addition to NATO and the strength there. Also, never forget 45 doesn't really have any foreign policy experience unless you consider kind of friendships with dictators. So, yeah, again, all these things are factors everybody has to keep in mind. This sits on top of predictions that my team has made going back almost 4 years ago now. Uh, Biden does believe he's the best person to finish the job, and from what I can tell, looks like that's the case. He's also willing to step down at the DNC convention if enough delegates request him to do that. So keeping that open. Remember, a lot of voters voted for him in the primary. So these are all factors that everybody has to kind of keep in mind. I feel a lot of the concerns over Biden and his health and ability to do the job are going to start to die down over like the next 116 days. And that kind of leads us up to Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th of this year. But looks like a lot of it will start to die down over the next 116 days. Certainly has very strong alignment with Kamala Harris as vice president. Strong alignment there. They have access to the war chest of all the money. And also, no new candidates have been brought forward. This kind of addresses people saying, swap out Biden. No new candidates have come forward that said, I'm up for the job, I'm going to do it. Kamala has access to the money that's in the war chest. A new candidate, my understanding, would not. So yeah, again, all these are factors. So kind of in closing here, I know there's a recent update here from the New York Times. I think it was very recently here, a day or two ago, they put out a 5,000 word editorial actually making the case against 45, which is very interesting because the New York Times has been rather nebulous and squirrely in terms of how they're approaching the election, but it looks like they just put out like a 5,000 word editorial making the case against 45. So I think that's important. Also, here in closing, remember that the sample sizes you see in polls are not indicative of good statistical analysis. So you can't, some of these polls and some of these newspapers will go unnamed here, but if they just poll several hundred individuals, if that, you really have to get up to a sample size of several 100,000 individuals to try to start to draw correlations against what would be 200 or 220 million voters. So keep in mind, a lot of polls you're seeing are not indicative of kind of what the actual voting is going to be. All these things are factors I want everybody to kind of just keep in mind, again, in light of the predictions that have come down even 4 years ago from my team. So in closing, I want everybody to kind of remain calm, be at peace, use logic, look at the facts in front of you. These are all very, very important to maintain balance and moving forward. And remember, please come out and vote. Take all your friends and neighbors with you. But again, I do see a massive turnout for voting in this election. So I hope that was helpful. This completes kind of the pop-up video I'm doing today here for July 12th, 2024. A lot of people were requesting it. Happy to do it. Happy to revisit kind of all the topics, all the moving parts going on. And as always, I want to wish you a lot of blessings and a lot of love to you and your families. Take care, and I will see you all again very soon.